happening, everyone? This is the first part of a double header today. I talked about yesterday. If you see me, what I'm watching on. I forgot the name of the stream. What I'm watching on PulseChain, number 13 yesterday. I talked about. I had a couple streams going on today. I have a morning stream for me at least with Furu Finance, aka Aaron. He'll be. I'll pull him up in a minute. And I got a stream later on with Wells only for HEX unaffected number two. So starting that series, going to go pretty well. Had RG3 on for the first one. Very, very good conversation we had. So I can't wait to have Wells on again because it's been a while. So that should be a good one. But today, yes, the stream you've all been waiting for and you definitely want to hear and have showed up for. HEX, I love having these conversations. Again, I just want to preface this with I'm completely on the side of I like both HEXs. I pick up T-shares on the cheapest one, but I weight it more towards PHEX. I'll say that. But my general what I do these days is pick up T-shares on the cheapest one, weighting it more towards PHEX over HEX. I don't know, let's say 60, 40, 70, 30, something like that. But I'm definitely all for EHEX surviving, thriving, all that stuff. It's RH coin. We talked about, I'm sure it'll come up. I literally asked RH last year, is this migration? He said no, all that stuff. But there's plenty of people in the community who have other positions. And this stream is not about convincing you one way or another. This stream is an open discussion and dialogue about different ideas in the community, and with a streamer who is pretty popular and could be a lot of help with us in the bull run. And I don't think is someone who they made mistakes. Everyone's made mistakes. All this stuff. None of that. Zoom out again. Like bigger picture, we need all the help we can get to make this ecosystem thrive. So I think. Having an open discussion about these. I had Dixon Piper on right before he took a break as well on open mic a while back. That was a great conversation. And again, it's one of those things. I may not agree with what you have to say, but I definitely want you to be able to say it. And if it's coherent in any way, shape, or form, which I think a lot of these different ideals are. I think it's interesting to at least discuss them. Now, do we have to do it every day? No. Do you have to see it? Do you have to follow people? Do you have to, all that stuff? No, you don't have to do that. But I think I didn't get a chance to do a deep dive. I didn't get a chance to really talk about this when it was first, becoming very popular and controversial and stuff a few months ago. So I thought it was time to do that. It was time to talk about this. And again, if you have any questions, be respectful, put them in the chat, comment, and all that stuff too. But I just want to lay it out there and have a conversation with. I have to start saying Aaron now. I want to say Furu every time with Aaron about this and. Should be a good one. So without further ado, I get the comments and chat in just a minute. Welcome back to the show. Aaron, how's it going?
Great to be back here. It's just like old times.
Almost, except old times you had you were in the lawyer studio deal, you had the bookshelf, you had all that stuff. that was fun.
Yeah. Had more
Furu Finance
hair.
Yeah, that's true. Hair. Yeah, you had the hair. Yeah, it's all the Furu Finance. What was the joke? We had all the lawyers sayings, like all the commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, man, we had a lot of good streams. I've been on your show a billion times. You've been on here a lot of times too. And just getting into this whole ecosystem it's been very green lately. All the coins. I mean, we'll see how long it lasts. Maybe we're still, I don't know. Axis called the bottom recently. That was very interesting, but I don't know. I'm still waiting for 2024. But maybe we'll start with that real quick before we get into it. What's your pulse of the macros? What do you think? What have you been talking about?
Well, I just was saying also on my stream today that I feel like the whole EHEX PX thing is kind of taken away from just being present in this nice price action that we're having. This at the very least relief rally that we're experiencing. We've been waiting so long for this, and we're finally getting something. And I don't want it to take away so much from it, but obviously it does need to be addressed, I guess. But as far as the market and how I see it, the way I see it is I look at Bitcoin every day, pretty much. And obviously I look at HEX and PulseChain every day, and I think it's important to look at both of them. I don't think they're separate from each other. They I think you can't have a proper market outlook on HEX and PulseChain without looking at Bitcoin. And when you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is really the overall thing. It's doing what it should be doing. Bottomed a year after the top, and it's been consolidating since then. And it's been on a little bit of a stealth rally. I mean, it's doubled since its local low. So it's not a guarantee that things are going to play out according to the cycle, but everything's really going according to the plan, and that's really how I see it.
Yeah, it's I did a macro stream. Not that I'm a TA guy or macros guy or anything, but I had Corey on the other day, and we just went through the Fed's rates. We went through GBDC discount, just the different what things looked like before and how they look like now, and kind of the difference between the bull in the past, and to kind of give some information or let people decide from there. But yeah, I hope that we're this is yeah, I like the relief rally thing almost. It does feel like a relief when things have been going down for so long, and then they go up a little bit. We're still down 90%, 87%, whatever on the hexes, and then PulseChain still from SAC phase, 40, 50%. PulseX still not quite 90% anymore. It's like 85, 80% or so. But it's I don't know. It's one of those. I'm glad we got some moments like this because it hasn't been a lot of those in the last year or so. So yeah, happy for people with that. Although, again, I don't get too excited. I try to remain my stoic nature and just be like, as shout out to our friend Somi, 2024, 2025, 2026. That's what I have my eye on, rather than the sideways action that may or may not occur until the macros come back for us. So very cool, man. Yeah, I know I've seen, I was looking at your channel again, and did you, I know you're streaming every day for a while. Were you taking a break, or what is your schedule like these days?
So yeah, I mean, I was working really, really hard for a very long time. It was 12 p.m. Eastern every single day, every single weekday. I was clipping, I was shorting, I was TikToking, I was Instagramming. It was very, very intense. And obviously, so for a long period of time, it was profitable. It wasn't making me anything extraordinary, but it was profitable. And then obviously, as the market tanked, things became less profitable. So obviously, I still streamed every day until about maybe 2 weeks ago, but obviously not as much time being allocated there. I was actually testing the jobs market, and I actually just got a full-time job. So I'm going to start working in a week from today, which is good. And you were talking about, yeah, thank you. You were talking about, trying to remain stoic and sort of having this level-headed temperament. And that's really critical when it comes to being successful in crypto. And in order to do that, you have to have your needs taken care of outside of crypto. You have to have income, and you have to have you can't be totally reliant on crypto, or else you're going to need to sell it in opportune times, and you're probably going to fall. You'll probably fall prey to those tendencies of market timing and doing bad things.
Yeah, if you hadn't set yourself up the last bull run to just live off money printers, or just have so much you don't have to worry about it as far as like getting them into less risky, more risky, all that stuff. A lot of different ways to do it. Hopefully people will be able to do it this time. Hopefully if we get a monstrous bull run, people will be able to set themselves up where, yeah, nobody wants a job. I mean, I guess I was about to say nobody wants a job, but actually I think most people want a job, maybe because they haven't seen the power that lies in other areas. But most people who don't want a job, they got to get themselves in the right situation. You can't just, I'm not going to go on in crypto and then be like, all right, we're just going to eat ramen for the next 8 months because, that's cool. And I'm going to hope it all works out. I'm going to hope I'm going to time the market. Like family's not going to like that very much. So family first, for me, at least. Everyone else do what they want, but I like real world stuff. And then the things that can enable me to do real world stuff. That's what I focus on as well. But it is a lot of work, man. It is definitely seeing all the work you put into it. And again, that's why I think you're a part of the community that we're not just growing these people on trees. Like you, me, everyone else out there streaming, the 150 plus people we have or so, it isn't just like somebody just decides one day, hey, I'm going to do this, and they just stick with it forever. Like they need support. They need community. They need like a reason to do it. Otherwise, they're not just going to do it anymore. So I think the more people, the better. And I'm looking forward to getting into the bull run and just kicking off some of this conversation we have around your thoughts, because I think, and I was talking in the green room, I think this is an interesting position to have too, because I mean, there's plenty of people who agree with you. There's plenty of people, I'm sure, who just watch your show because they like that you're fighting this battle,
fighting the good fight.
Fight as you say, yeah, fighting the good fight, and it's just one of those things where there's a cost, right? There's trade-offs to doing this. There's a price. I mean, I'm sure you felt that. Unfortunately, like you felt that in various ways, whether it's been comments or just interaction with the community or otherwise. And that's something that I want to lay out today. I want to help people understand, even if you don't agree with different positions, I do respect people taking strong positions, especially ones who want to see the community succeed. But understanding why that is, that's what I want to get into today and kind of laying it all out. So maybe we'll just start there. Like, first of all, before we even explain the nuances and differences and technicals and stuff like that, why are you so passionate about, and maybe explain it too. I don't want to like put words in your mouth, but why are you so passionate about this issue? And maybe you could describe, this position, that you have.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like a lot of times passed since the whole, obviously PulseChain launch and the whole EX PX wars. And I think maybe I should have approached it differently if I were to redo it. And that was what I was telling you earlier. So, but that doesn't mean I'm not passionate about it. I'm definitely passionate about it. And I'm passionate about it because I believe it's the truth. I really do stand by everything that I've said, although I don't stand by necessarily the way I went about it. Name calling. I think the name calling, I mean, it just, things escalated. People call you names, you call other people names, and what you don't think is personal, maybe other people take it personally. And there needs to be more of a cautious approach, more of a sensitive approach when it comes to it, because people that disagree with you also are very passionate about what they believe, because they believe it's true and they believe they're doing the best thing. So I think that would answer why I'm very passionate about it. I think it's what's best. I think it's what's going to do best for people that are investing, in my opinion. And obviously, I'm not an investment advisor and it's not financial advice, but I really think it will most benefit investors. And I think it'll also most benefit the community and the ecosystem. So that's really what it is. And I don't want HEX to die. I don't want it to go to zero. I never even said that I want that to happen. But people misquote me. It's just that when it comes to risk reward, comparing one to the other, I think it's a no brainer that obviously HEX, meaning HEX on PulseChain, is the ideal choice and where people should be going, in my opinion.
So let's dig into that. You say it the truth that so I just want to describe again. People might think, hey, you just want EHEX to die, or you think it's EHEX is going to zero. You want it to disappear, migration. Like I don't know how to quite to frame it yet. So can you just like put it out there what exactly your position is on EHEX and why you think PHEX? Yeah, again, that's what I want you to describe. Just like because I don't want to set it up where you're like having to answer a question that is not true or close to what you think. So can you just describe your position of what you think is the right approach or the truth?
Yeah, it's a very multifaceted position from the perspective of me, the investor, like thinking of where I'm going to allocate my capital. Obviously, PulseChain launched because Ethereum had problems, and therefore HEX on Ethereum had problems. And I think the ideal product, the value pitch for HEX is the staking, is the passive income. And it's not really feasible on Ethereum anymore, especially relative to PulseChain. So, I mean, it happened when Ethereum was the only option and people knew that their stakes were getting copied. You know, so it doesn't even matter whether or not the gas fees are high, because they know at maturity they'll be taken care of on PulseChain. So I'm saying is like, that's why it was created. And now that people are given the PulseChain option for staking and obviously transacting, that's where people are going to go. That's where people are going to go, and that's where people are going to stake. So, I mean, sort of the value proposition for HEX on Ethereum is, I don't want to say obsolete, but I'll say relative to HEX on PulseChain, it is sort of obsolete. So I think with the value proposition, obviously comes price performance. I think it's a very big projector of price performance, and obviously you see the liquidities move to PulseChain and the communities move to PulseChain. So I think that at the very least, HEX on PulseChain is going to far outperform. And there's sort of this equivocation, which is a little bit irritating, because like people like, we got PulseChain, we got the alternative. It's working, it's faster, it's cheaper. The community's there, and people are still trying to, promote EHEX as though it's equal, as though it's going to do equally as well. They were doing it based on pretenses that never played out. For example, they said that the origin address would force a parity. That never happened. They said that Richard was gonna, just sort of buy it up. He won't let that never happened. There was sort of none of that activity on chain, and all those things. So, I mean, so that's really what it comes down to. I mean, none of the things that people said would happen on Ethereum happened, nor should they have happened. And obviously, the PulseChain HEX price sort of ran away. It got a little closer lately, but it's still not really close. And I think that the only real argument that HEX on Ethereum will do as well or better, because all the other previous arguments were obsolete. The only real argument is that, in crypto, just things that shouldn't happen. Like, for example, you had Dogecoin did what it did, and you had Ethereum Classic sort of did what it did. And these are both, shouldn't have done what they done, and they did anyway. I mean, so it's basically, the argument is that, it's crypto and stupid things happen. So as an investor, I don't think you want to bet on just stupid things happening. I think risk reward relative PulseChain to Ethereum, it makes no sense really to buy EHEX. And just for the record, like, people want to say I emergency end stake. All my Ethereum stakes are still there. They're not worth as much as they were, and I'm hoping that they're worth something. And I think they're probably going to do something in the bull market, but there's no way that I'm buying there, and there's no way that I'm telling people to go there. So that's like from the investor's perspective, but there's also from the community perspective. And meaning, what's the biggest form of marketing, right? The biggest form of marketing as far as the crypto is concerned is really the price performance. I mean, the product is important, the innovation is important, but the price performance is ultimately what brings people in. And that's for, any of the equities too. And obviously you can't say that when people are promoting EHEX, and there's a lot of trading volume going into EHEX pumping the price, that's taking away what could be going into HEX on PulseChain. So it's sort of preventing it from achieving its full potential as far as price performance, which would ultimately be excellent for onboarding. So there's that. And then there's also just like, it prevents the full adoption of PulseChain as a chain. Like, it's sort of people aren't, if people are still on Ethereum, and they're not full speed ahead on PulseChain, that's just not good for PulseChain adoption. You want people to be there, because we have other coins also on PulseChain, and PulseChain is just better, and it's a great product market fit. So, like, when people are staking on Ethereum, they're buying ETH, they're not buying PLS. When people are transacting on Ethereum, there's no PulseX buy and burn, and things like that. So I think, just from the perspective of investors, and for the benefit of the ecosystem as a whole, obviously I think it's I think being caught up on EHEX it's just sort of counterproductive and stuff like that. That's
I
the
mean,
overall thing.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things you said were completely rational as far as
Thank you.
I mean, Ethereum. If you're using Ethereum for EHEX and stuff, that's obviously less PulseChain adoption, less volume, stuff like that. However, you could say, well, the bridged over portion that could kind of maybe help someone with that. Although, if you need to stake, you still need to go to Ethereum. I literally don't even like going to Ethereum. I only go there to stake EHEX. That's the only time I go there. I don't even know why it's in my MetaMask. It's by default. I can't remove it. Like it's one of those things for me. The part there, though, I think there are a lot of assumptions, though. For example, the gas fee. So maybe I'll ask that question. Like, what are the best arguments you've heard that have made you, have made you think, oh, that is a good point, or they in the future two hexes are better, or it's overall, but maybe these are like, maybe you have completely rational points, but they get deprioritized to what the community wants, what the whales want, what the price action is, what the onboarding factor that's so much easier on Ethereum than it is PulseChain right now, which could change in the future, of course. Like, what are the best arguments you've heard against it?
Well, there was the onboarding thing, but that's kind of a moot argument because Uniswap delisted EHEX. So, like, I mean, in order to get EHEX, you either have to go to PulseChain or you have to go to like the ICOSA front end, which if you're already that deep, you could already be on PulseChain anyway. So that
onboarding does suck right now for both.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it's like the onboarding thing's not, and that's another argument for why it's important that we fully embrace PulseChain, because like Richard Hart would not delist his front end for the coins we like. I mean, we have no expectations and none of it's guaranteed, but it's a lot more likely that people that didn't create these coins are going to delist. And obviously Richard Hart created these coins and he's on our side, seemingly. It's pretty implied by now that he's on our side. And it's like, that's another reason. So like gas fees get high, like you're sort of in good hands with no expectation of profit from the work of others. So I think it's a little bit of a moot point, the onboarding. I think a lot of people are very sincere in their arguments. That's not to question people's motives, but like from my perspective, the only like legitimate reason I could see, true reason I could see for somebody to actually want EX to do well is they have stakes on Ethereum, and they feel like if they would tell people let's move over to PulseChain completely, that would devalue their bags. I think that's really the only legitimate motive that I could see for that. That's not to say that people that are saying they like EHEX are only saying it because they're trying to pump their bags, but I think the people that are sincere that are promoting EHEX are generally doing it from a perspective. They're doing it for they're pretty much like misguided, I'd say. Like I think they genuinely believe what they believe, but I think they're wrong.
Well, their incentives are aligned, right? Like if you have a bag of something, you usually don't want it to go to zero. Usually you're not willing to sacrifice. The individual is usually not sacrificing themselves for the group, even if they believe, in the broader ideals there. I mean, it almost makes me think, you think you're early? You think you're too early on this? Like, in the bull run, once everyone's EHEX bags appreciate, they're like, all right, now everyone actually PulseChain is the winner. Like, you're like early in this argument. I don't know. It's just one thing that came to mind.
I think I'm early in the sense that I think that once people see that HEX on PulseChain, first of all, is going up a lot faster, and it's going up a lot more, that's like one thing that's going to make people sort of say like, yeah, PulseChain's really the one. And I think also people don't realize how expensive Ethereum gets, especially for staking and unstaking. A lot of new onboards, they weren't involved during the bull market. They don't understand. And then obviously the longer Ethereum's around, the longer the stakes have been, the more the fees are going to be, the higher the ETH price, which it's projected to go up, the activity on the Ethereum network. I mean, some serious scaling issues that you're running into in the future, that may or may not be addressed. So far, what we've seen from the likes of obviously Vitalik and his gang and Hayden, there's just no interest whatsoever in confronting this problem. especially for us. There's really no regard for the Hex community. There's no acknowledgement of it. So I think they're running into a lot of issues, and I think I'm ahead in that sense. I think eventually people are going to realize it's not worthwhile to stake on Ethereum or to buy EX. Really,
still a lot of assumptions there. I mean, again, these are things. I just want to preface it with like nobody knows, can't predict. Maybe that's what rubs people the wrong way too. Is when you say the truth, it's like the investment thesis of this time frame. You know, if tomorrow Vitalik's like, guess what, Ethereum thieves solved. They're all penny now. We figured it out. Big brain technology figured it out. Even PulseChain adopts that. Fees are much, much, much cheaper. But again, nobody cares to end the stake in 15 years of Ethereum because all that's done and hopefully it doesn't go away in 15 years, all that stuff. But even Maximus, like some people may be like, oh, you know, instead of solo staking these days, everyone just joins Maximus pools. And now they all stake together and they save gas fees. And that maybe that's how EHEX, you know, lives on forever. And that's like the narrative of, hey, if you're going to stake on PulseChain, you can solo stake. Don't worry about it. Although like each one of these points has a sub point of, well, I hope PulseChain is expensive in the future and in-state gas fees go up a lot because that means PulseChain is valuable. So there's all these little sub points too. But I just wanted to hit on the point of that where gas fees, you know, the splitting and buying pressure with EHEX, like just trying to synthesize some of the ideals here that you're a proponent of, like, hey, this is better for the. Maybe that's a question too. Is it better for? Is all your ideals, do they map to better price performance for HEX on PulseChain? Is that kind of like where everything leads?
Well, I think to answer that, yeah, I think it is. I mean, if everyone's buying on PulseChain, then it is a better price chart, right? I mean, that's really undeniable, and it's also just a better experience. You know, people could stake and not have to go onto Coinbase and spend $1,200 to unstake hopefully a stake that's worth more than what the gas fees were. But yeah, I think it's just better. It's better. And yeah, I think it is better for the price. I think it's better for the adoption of PulseChain. As far as like Ethereum maybe solving, I mean, that would explain why I still have the stakes there. I haven't like end staked them. But like it may in the future one day perhaps, and they've been saying it for years, and it's like, but PulseChain already is cheap, and like I want to bet on what is what rather than what is possible, sort of thing. And also I think even if, let's say, Ethereum solves the gas fees and obviously PulseChain, let's say it integrates that, probably HEX on PulseChain is still the better pick because PulseChain is Richard Hart's chain, so to speak. So it's just, you know what I mean?
Well, you mentioned earlier too, just about picking. Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say on that. I'll go to the other point though, which was, you know, a lot of people in the community who have. Do you think the people who push back against EHEX going away, is it purely because of the bags? And if so, wouldn't that kind of be like the market deciding that they should both stay if that continues, if the sentiment in the community doesn't just dump EHEX eventually? Like I guess what is the path for it to go away versus stay around?
I don't know if it's going to go away. I think it could even stay. And I'm hoping it stays just for my bags, and also I want the people that are buying EHEX now to do well. I want them to get a good ROI. I don't want them to lose all their money. I mean, that doesn't give me any pleasure or anything like that. So I think the mark, you're saying that the EHEX having a price now is the market deciding that it has value. I mean, yeah, the market is deciding that it's worth something now. It may be worth less than it's worth in the future, and maybe worth more. But I don't think that it is going. I mean, the market has already decided that PulseChain's worth more. And I think that against each other, I think the market is going to further decide that PHEX is going to get a bigger piece of the pie. But against the US dollar, I could see them both appreciate. So to speak.
Well, just on the two worlds here, let's say one world is EHEX and PX coexist. There's always a discount and premium. Maybe it's 2-to-1, maybe whatever it is. And then the other world is only PX exists. But in both worlds, HEX is successful. Like whatever's going on, HEX is successful. Which one do you think, if you had to choose, like which one would you want?
I mean, does that mean that if I choose the one where only PX is successful, everyone that's dumping money into EHEX gets wrecked? And I mean, I wouldn't want that to happen.
I mean, we could say, eventually the prices, eventually people are going to have to exit the market. So at some point, maybe it's during a glorious bull run. Let's just say there's a good time to exit. Not everyone does, obviously, but hey, economic energy, best case, all the economic energy from EHEX goes into PX and it helps PX.
I mean, the thing is like, I would want them both to do well. I would want them to both to do well. Hopefully not EHEX coming at the expense of PulseChain HEX price performance. But like as an investor, we can't invest based on what we want. We have to allocate our money based on how things are and how we think things will be, which is beyond our control. So that's really what prefaces my worldview when it comes to this. But as far as what I want Johnny Chaos's EHEX bags to go to the moon. I want him to be very successful. I don't want him to get hurt. I want, like that. I don't even want to check the ratios anymore. And I wasn't doing the scoreboard thing even when the ratios were very much lopsided, in my opinion, which was until about a week ago. It's still lopsided, in my opinion, just not as much. Just because, like, it's like, I don't want EHEX to do badly, but at the same time, people that are coming in have to be cautious of the potential dangers. And as far as like EHEX's price performance relative to PulseChain, and as far as the imminent gas fee, the imminent hefty gas fee that you're going to be paying on a stake that may not even appreciate so much. There's sort of like this like opinion where it's like it's both the same. It's just like one's cheaper. It's like, no, that's not true, dude. Like people that listen to that are gonna make a 2-year stake. They're going to spend potentially over $1,000. Who knows what it's going to be this coming bull market? It could be even crazier. It could be like 4x what it was, and stuff like that. And they might have an under
2-year stake.
Yeah, I'm saying like if their stake matures in the bull market, and Ethereum is considerably more expensive and it's onboarded a lot more people. There's more activity on the chain. People are looking at a very expensive end stake and potentially a highly underappreciating asset. So people need to be aware of these things, and I think that's really good for the community also, because it gives us high morale, high trust. People don't feel like they're getting suckered into buying my bags.
Do you think another way, and you talked about before, maybe you wish you did some things differently before, or at least had different kind of conversation stuff. Maybe your position's the same, but maybe interacted different ways. Do you think going forward, let's say that, hey, EHEX keeps doing fine, PX keeps doing fine, the ratios are there, got green candles in the future, all that stuff. Do you think the position of, I guess, how do you think you're going to change the conversation going forward? Is it going to be more, hey, still acknowledge EHEX, but I think I'm betting on PX, like that's where my money's going, I think? Or do you think, I guess, what is useful about making sure EHEX does not get the light? Like it's always like PHEX and EHEX is like that other thing. For you, at least, how do you think you're helping the ecosystem with that?
You're saying how am I approaching like EHEX as it is, so to speak?
Yeah. If I imagine you're going to keep firm on this position. Hey, EHEX is always going to be secondary. If I don't know if it's going to stay around, it's much more risky. PHEX is the way to go. Like, how do you feel like you're making an impact in the ecosystem? Like having those conversations, like, do you think it'll change based on what it's been before? Or do you think it's just going to adapt?
Well, it already has changed. First of all, like, just not confrontational, because everybody knows what I believe and everyone knows what other people believe, right? So like, and it's fine. I think it's important for the ecosystem to get along with people that are even believers in EHEX. But I do reiterate, because part of the thing I do in my stream is I look at Hex daily stats, and you look at the current onboards, which is something that's very positive. Seeing that we're in this 97% downturn in the price, yet there's double-digit increases in stakers and holders for Hex. I mean, that's something incredible. But I also look at the Ethereum numbers, and Ethereum they have a net decrease in stakers pretty much every day, and less often, not often, but frequently net decreases in current holders, and always on less than PulseChain, in terms of adding new users and stuff like that. So I think that's a very big indication of how EHEX is going to do relative to PHEX. So I keep reiterating the point and why I believe what I believe. But at the same time, I know that it's important. We are a community, and it is important to get along with people that have different views, and not be hostile towards each other. I think that's just hurting everyone. Also, it's important. Yeah,
I was going to say, do you think it's a priority thing? Do you think it's, for example, I have strong beliefs on different subjects. I'm not very interested in meme coins, NFT, stuff like that. However, I kind of see, I know these are going to be good for the ecosystem, so I want to support, legit projects around that. Kind of a priority, yeah, the way I look at it too. But I just want to put that nuance in there.
So, what's the question?
Well, the original question. So that was the point on prioritization. But the original question was how do you think your approach going forward, is it going to change any? Do you feel like always?
Yeah, it's already really changed. First of all, no hostility towards people of differences of opinion. Actually, obviously, a good friend of the show, put a picture of him drinking my tears. And what I would have done maybe a couple months ago is made a picture reacting, or just sort of retaliating on the stream. There's no need for that, and it is what it is. There's no need for retaliation. There's no really need for infighting. I don't think it's good for anyone. But obviously, the stance, I remain very very. I firmly believe in my stance. Obviously, and it's also important to realize there's also nuance amongst people that believe in EHEX. So some people believe, Hex is better, but we don't want EHEX to die. Maybe that's not good. It's better but obviously better for new onboards, better to be more Hex heavy. Then there are some people that believe that it should be 1-to-1, which I think is a little bit ludicrous from how I see it. And there are some people that believe that EHEX is actually better. I mean, that's just absolutely crazy. That was the sort of thing that would get me riled up a couple months ago. But whatever. I mean, it's just something that it's there. It's there. It's something that people believe. A lot of people that are very valuable to the community that put in a lot more work and their own time and money than me hold these sort of opinions, and to sort of make it confrontational and to try and isolate each other, I think it's just very bad for the overall thing. Same thing with what you said about the meme coins and stuff. I don't think most of these projects building on PulseChain are going to be successful. The odds of any crypto being successful are very low. So then and then obviously we're already interested in crypto, so it's going to be hard to get people to be hardcore for these meme coins building on PulseChain when they're already so staunch in HEX and PulseX and PulseChain, whatever. So I think the odds, but whatever. I mean, some people like it, some people are a big believer, and it is what it is. I can't cut myself off or it's just something that's there. It's something that's there, and for better for worse, it is what it is.
What kind of impact do you think you're making? Of course, again, we talked about the controversy and some people disagreeing, and maybe alienation and different ideals and stuff like that. But you're very passionate about this. You're very much wanting to promote. This EHEX is lesser than and maybe should go away. But or again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this idea that PX is a no-brainer and EHEX much more risky, things like that. What kind of impact do you think? Do you think you're onboarding more people, or I guess when you're thinking about pushing this idea and being firm on it, what kind of impact do you think you're helping? Are you helping people in the ecosystem, or how do you kind of see that?
Well, I think so. I think a lot of people, instead of loading up on EHEX when it was 1-to-1, or when EHEX was more expensive, I think, and obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, and people have to do their own research and their own opinions, whatever. But they're sitting at I think they're very happy that, first of all, they're able to stake, and they're not suffering they haven't suffered high gas fees, or they're not going to suffer imminent high gas fees, and obviously they've been getting a better ROI. So I think that's very good. I think it's good. It keeps the buy pressure consolidated more. So I think it's good because it increases PulseChain adoption. So I mean, I think that will be the positive impact that I'm making, I guess. Yeah.
And what do you acknowledge? Like, did you go into it, or do you see now like the trade-offs, like the side effects, right? Like some people are just not going to agree, and some people are just going to, not want to engage because of, you're either flooding their bags, or they believe in 2 hexes, whether they have a lot of EX or not. They just believe that, 2 hexes is fine. And Richard talked about it not being migration and all these other things, maybe gas fees, whatever. We have Maximus, we have technology coming up, making bets on that. How do you feel like, again, that's what I'm trying to talk about, the conversation either changing or just getting more ROI out of this sort of set of principles and position you're pushing forward. Like, have you thought about those trade-offs, and like, how is this the position like that is going to, that you really think is going to help the most people? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think if you get the best ROI from PulseChain, and if HEX on PulseChain, I think if you're increasing activity on PulseChain, thereby increasing demand for PLS token, increasing demand for increasing the frequency and the volume in terms of the PulseX buy and burn. And obviously you're giving people a product that's been scaling, and that's usable. I think that in and of itself is very good. As far as like the Maximus, I think it's an interesting product. I don't think that in and of itself would be what saves EHEX, because it's like you have Maximus on PulseChain also, and PulseChain you also have the demand for native stakes and people that are going to buy native and transact on the chain and things like that. So it's facing an uphill battle. I think the product is good. I think there's some good dudes, but I don't think it's the solution. And also another thing about Maximus is, like, part of what's so great about HEX is that it saves yourself from yourself. When you stake, it's illiquid. You could suffer penalties. Maximus is liquid. I could sell at a premium or a discount, but you could sell too early or too late. Now, I think that Maximus is something that you could integrate into your portfolio. I think it definitely has a place for investors, maybe to have a percentage allocated, or if you could buy it at a good discount, you should look into it. But I think to be mainly using Maximus and not having native, I think would be a mistake. So I just think that Maximus is not the solution, but it's definitely a very interesting product. It definitely has a good place in the ecosystem.
What would make you change your position? Like, what if Richard, like, how much do you believe Richard has influence over things? If he just tweeted one day, like, hey, there's like 1-to-1, baby, we're doing it, it's never going away, or the whole community was just started rage buying EHEX, and like the new stake numbers went through the roof. Is there anything that would just make you be like, oh, actually, I think the market has decided, or,
Well, so, I mean, it would be very difficult, because even if Ethereum solves the gas problem,
or that happens,
I mean, it is that even if they do, I mean, that would be the thing that people would really argue, is that in the future, but like, even then, it's like, but PulseChain is Richard's chain. So I definitely would be more open to it, but I'd still probably be heavier PulseChain. I mean, that really is what's most beneficial for everyone, except for people that, nevertheless want to be on Ethereum. I think it would be very difficult, would be the answer, because PulseChain is the chain of the Hex community of Richard Hart. So I mean, I think that's where people are going to be. Ethereum would have to have like a serious advantage on PulseChain that, you know, could not be integrated on PulseChain or something, and that would be a problem. But yeah. So I mean, any scenario that would make me want to use EHEX is probably not the scenario you want to be in. That would probably be bad for your PLS bags and probably be bad for your PLSX bags and your PX bags. So I mean, it's possible, but I wouldn't want to be in that scenario. You know what I mean? Like if people leave PulseChain for Ethereum because Ethereum is so much better, it's like, yeah, I guess EHEX, we could talk about it doing better then, but do we want to be in that sort of scenario? You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds like the framing too, and again, there's a lot more people watching than the first 10 minutes. So maybe you could reiterate too, like it doesn't sound like you want EHEX to go to zero. It just sounds like you want people to understand the risk of EHEX and why PulseChain HEX is better better for the community that it gets most of value. You know, I'm trying to frame it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's when we look at like EHEX against PHEX, people see very black and white. It's like is like sort of, it's not enough that EHEX will go up over time. I think there's a very good chance that it could continue to appreciate against the US dollar, especially this coming bull market, just because it has the HEX brand. It's sort of like Ethereum Classic sort of thing. It's like, as an investment, it's like you have to like, it's how's it going to do relative to PLS and PHEX, obviously, because if you could be putting your money into PHEX instead, then it's probably not so viable. So I think that relative to PHEX, I think relative to PLS and probably even PLSX from this price point, your EHEX is going to underperform. The main value proposition for HEX is the staking, is the delayed gratification. And obviously the problem of staking on Ethereum was so profound that they had to hard fork the network for PulseChain. Like, so like, obviously EHEX is not really viable for staking. So obviously there's just more value in HEX on PulseChain. HEX on PulseChain also makes it obviously adds value to your PLS bags because the demand for PLSX buy and burn is going to be more frequent if there's more adoption with PulseChain, obviously, and it's overall better. I mean, also price chart is like the best form of marketing. When you consolidate the buy pressure behind HEX on PulseChain, that could really lead to a lot more people being onboarded to both HEX and PulseChain, as opposed to splitting it. And then, yeah, so sort of like supporting Ethereum, HEX on Ethereum as like equal is holds back from the true adoption of the PulseChain. So I think so as an investor, and I think for the betterment of the community, which you could even argue is all in the same, I think it's just like PHEX is just so much more advantageous relative to EHEX.
Well, don't you think? So just talking about Richard for a minute too, like he's, you know, for 2 years, he's been planning PulseChain or, you know, working on stuff, devs, all these things. Plenty of time to think about this. He did plenty of streams describing all this stuff. And if it was supposed to be a migration or EHEX was supposed to go away or something like that, wouldn't there be some sort of like swap, you know, instead of just an airdrop, would there be like a swap, or would there just be some message or otherwise? Or do you just think that, I'm just trying to reconcile like your investment thesis with the community and the founders type of, you know, activities and stuff?
Yeah, well, a swap is not so viable because a lot of it's not liquid. It's staked, so you can't really swap that.
Well, swap with the time period if it's not valid anymore, unless you could do something like that. Like Hedron's. I mean, Hedron's not swapping the chains; they're swapping the token on each chain, and then there's a time period. From what I understand from Alex, there's time period, and then you can't swap anymore. 15-year
time period. I don't know. It's not. I think the best thing is to just give everyone a free copy on the other network. I think that's what he did.
Even if that particular ideal isn't practical, like the ideal of something coming out whether he's saying it or technology-wise.
I think the deeper thing you're asking is why didn't Richard just say like, hey, we're going on the PulseChain, it's PulseChain time, guys. Like
he did say PHEX. It looks like the market has chosen PHEX, but that was like kind of the premium discount type of thing from the context. It seemed like.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's interesting. So like, Richard Hart is not us, so people have to realize that as the founder, he's in a very peculiar situation. He's not able to talk freely in the way that we can, because there's issues regarding, just first of all, there's an SEC investigation, which is why he wasn't able, probably why he wasn't able to stream, and he's been pretty much only active on Twitter, so he's caught up in that, and then on top of that, it's like, there's securities laws, there's there's just things that a founder can and cannot do that are, and like even those rules are not really so well laid out. So I mean, let's think about what he did when he how frustrated were people when he said, hey, it looks like the market has decided that HEX on PulseChain is worth more than HEX on Ethereum. Like, I knew the second that he said that like the ratios are about to widen. And I was on with, I forget who, I think it was Brizology that day. He knew, we all knew. And the ratio widened like crazy just off the tweet. So how much more so? And that was just like cautiously implying that the market has decided and sort of putting these like speculations to rest that like the 08, like people were just making up these false pretenses that were just not true. And I think he felt like he had to clarify that. So like that, like mild, very like mild opinion, like slightly tilting the scale, that like had a huge effect on the market. So let's say Richard goes like, you asked him during the conference, like, hey, is it a migration? He says like, yeah, it's a migration. Like everyone go to PulseChain and that sort of thing. Like imagine what it would do to the price of HEX. And now he's under the microscope of the SEC. It's like, so he's subject to that sort of legal framework. And also like, then maybe some HEX holders, there's a lot of them, good chance some of them take legal action against him. He's putting himself into like a very, very dangerous situation that there's no reason to be in. So I think he has to be very careful, and like this idea that he could simply say, everyone move over to PulseChain. I don't think that's really something that he should do.
Isn't that couldn't that, make the point that, he literally, it's not up to him in that way. It is literally up to the market to wherever they put the money. Like we're kind of like waiting to see. But at the same time, you're like, okay, how long is waiting? How long do you wait before you see which one has a premium, which one has discount, which one's going to go away? Or are they both going to stay? There's a lot to that, but isn't that kind of the way it's supposed to be? Is just, hey, he's not supposed to decide the winner. The community, the market, blah, blah, blah. Whoever's putting the money, whoever's hitting the buy and sell button does that.
Well, that's true. Well, that is true. Ultimately, like it is the buyers and sellers, and it's not him. But at the same time, like, when he makes tweets, it does affect the market intentionally or unintentionally, and he could. He's not really in a position where he could sort of pick winners and losers. Although he has said, like, I think that the HEX where the cheaper fees are gonna do better. He has said multiple times, like, I think PulseChain HEX is gonna do better, so to speak, without saying without straight up saying it. But yeah, I mean, he's in a situation where he has to be very careful, to say the least. It's not a simple thing.
He also reminded me of when he said, I don't want to see cheap HEX anywhere. And the first thought that comes to my mind forever with that is, everyone's like, oh, Ethereum fair, Ethereum POW. That means they're going to have value or something. And then now what it makes me think of is that him, like kind of like giving the nod to these things, like the hexes, right? I don't know how to say it. The position is like the hex or the hexes. There can be one, there can be two. I don't know, but what do you read into anything he says like that as, as a, like this guy's, either he's giving a nod or not?
Well, I mean, I don't want to see cheap hex on either chain either. I mean, so I think people read into it a little too much. It's like, yeah, I don't want, I want EHEX to go to the moon too. You know, I got stakes there. If I could unlock some good value there, great. But the idea that like he's sort of equal, like, and he thinks that they're both going to do the same well, and they're sort of the same. I wouldn't take that from him saying he doesn't want it to be cheap on any chain.
Maybe that's one to wrap up on too. Is what in an ideal world, like if you could just snap your fingers and like things start going in the way that would make you feel like validated, or just like this is the right thing to happen, or back to the truth of your investment thesis and stuff. What would that look like?
It would look like EHEX does a 10,000x in 2 years, but PHEX does a 20,000x. So I could tell everyone I told you so. But I want all the EHEX investors to do well, but I want PX to do a little bit better, just so I could I could drink the cup with the tears, and everything like that. Would be my ideal world. But I can't, I mean, it's not about what I want really. That's ultimately what we have to consider. It's like, as an investor, if you want to be a good investor. And I'm by no means an expert investor, okay? I'm wrecked right now, but I think the way I see it, the approach has to be you have to see the world for how it is and not really how you want it to be. And I think that's what I'm doing.
That's what, maybe I'll reframe it into that way. Then it's like not even what you want, but like what would make your thesis become like, okay, this is true. This became true over time. It would be there's just like a 2-1 ratio for PX EX forever, kind of like that's where you think they should be.
Well, I think that the ratio is going to continue to widen, and the reason for that is because of the compounding effect. So, when the prices are close, if let's say HEX does a 2% move and EHEX does a 1% move, it's like, okay. But then if the next pump, it's the same thing. But let's say it's a 2%. Next pump, HEX does a 2% move, EX does a 1% move. So HEX is getting a 2% pump on top of the additional 2% pump. You know what I mean? And EX is getting only a 1% pump on top of a 1% pump. So it's like every time that HEX pumps even a little bit more than EHEX, it's compounding. And the next time, does that make sense? It's like they start sort of like this, but then the ratios widen because every pump is already on top of the previous pump. So like if does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well,
if HEX pumps 5%, EHEX pumps 1%, even if they both pump 5% the next pump, HEX is doing a 5% pump on top of the 5% pump.
So it's not even that EHEX is more risky. It's just that it's got just less potential, and that you just really want PulseChain to get all the capital, or PHEX get all the capital, which in turn helps PulseChain stuff.
I think it's both. I think that it's just a better investment, and I think it's better if it gets more of the capital. But I think for my thesis, for me to be right would be just to be what has been happening to continue to happening, which I think it will. I know there's been a little bit, obviously, recently people have been coming out of the woodwork and saying like, hey, look, we told you so. But I mean, overall, the ratio has been widening. They went up to 3-1. I think that the ratio is going to continue to widen. But I think that against the US dollar, I could see EHEX appreciate. But against each other, I think
bullish on EHEX. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I guess. But like risk reward, it's not me really. But there was actually something somebody said.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to pull up a comment. I've been trying to be less inflammatory, but I can't see them all.
No,
I mean, here's just one I thought was interesting too, Lee Hexer. I think bigger pockets aren't going to care about gas fees 10, 15 years. They're just going to want cheaper fee, whatever the cheaper asset is now, which, I mean, you kind of covered it, but anyways, your response.
I think they're going to want the better performer, and the better performer is where the retail is. Because even though they're bigger pockets, the combination of many retail people and obviously the retail being the marketing, that's what's going to make things do better. People want to invest in things that do better.
Yeah, did you have another one? You want me to pull up another one you saw?
Yeah. Oh, so Ash says, big shout out to Ash, by the way. He says that HEX is like a backup plan. That's something that people say, like, if like PulseChain fails, like there's HEX. Like that's sort of people think of HEX as like an insurance policy. I really disagree with that. I think that if PulseChain fails, it's Richard Hart's putting it all on the line with PulseChain. That would be his Do Kwon moment, and you know it's over. Like I don't see HEX as an insurance policy. I see it as something that could maybe also do okay, but I don't think that I can't see a scenario where PulseChain does a nosedive and Hex PX does a nosedive, and it's like, but at least we have EHEX. Like I don't see that happening.
A lot of good comments in the chat. Now that they've heard, we laid it on the table. That's again, that's why I want to have this conversation, to figure out, give people the information, not to convince you one side or the other, but just to see, hey, have you you know, are you missing something? Do you what, if you make any changes, that's all up to you. But it's you know, I will still say my vision, the thing that I think, the default success vision in my mind as of today is both hexes do well. There's a premium, a discount, and we just fix all the onboarding. Maybe I'm hopeful gas fees will be fixed in the future. So it'll be easier to do all the stuff on EHEX. Although I think there'll be a lot more tools where you won't even have to touch Ethereum. You can still have EHEX, but maybe you won't even have to touch the network. There'll be like bridges and other cool tech coming up. The tech mind I have is like, can kind of like, you know, visualize a lot of the stuff happening, that I think is interesting, and I'm hopeful that'll happen. Again, no guarantees, but I think they'll survive. It'll be easier to work with, and hopefully we'll be landing on the moon together. However, I did want to ask you too, what do you think? What are you working on upcoming content? Again, I wanted to have this conversation because, again, I think it's interesting. I think it's important. And I think, again, you're creating a lot of content that I want you to be around. I want you to be around kicking ass in the next couple of years, hopefully when we get to this bull run. So, you know, what are you working on now? What's going on with the channel? Or I know you said you got a full-time job. Maybe that's going to take some time away, but what are you excited about, man?
Well, I appreciate you first of all having me on and obviously wanting me to do well, and I want you to do well, and you've done a lot for me, and I'm very grateful. As far as like what I want to do for the future content, I think right now we're in a bear market, and a bear market is something that we need to accept and we need to embrace. It's something that is par for the course when it comes to crypto. There's bear markets, and you need to capitalize on them. So really what my stream has been is, I mean, if there's anything really newsworthy, I go over it, but it is a lot of just reiterating the message, sort of keeping people obviously up to date with the news, but really just reiterating that, like, we look at Hex like that we are in, like, just being here, we're in a huge position of strength. We look at the onboards and the stakers, the current holders, current stakers. Every day it's going up double digits. These numbers are incredible for a bear market. Just the community being so strong, despite the nosedive and despite the SEC. I mean, the kitchen sink has really been thrown at us. All these things happening, in a bear market is like really, really positive. And it shows us that when the bull comes back, which we believe it will, we're going to be doing very well. So I think that's really what it is. It's sort of just to keep people on good footing, to keep people engaged, and to keep people excited about the future. I think there's a very bright future in this ecosystem.
Very bright indeed. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. People in the chat are like, RS just tweeted. He said, unity, unite, peace, love.
Oh, he's watching the stream. You see that?
He's watching the stream. He knows where to get to his coverage of hardcore topics that you use to make up your own mind.
I love you, Richard.
Yeah, I can't reply. Otherwise, I might say I love you, Richard, or thanks, Dad. One of those. That's what I usually say.
Just give him a quote tweet.
A quote. You know what? I could. I thought. He's replied to me a couple times, but it's been a while, and I feel like every time I don't even want to do it if I don't. I don't know. I say stuff. I quote tweet and I post pictures. I did one earlier too. Actually, I'm just gonna pull that up real quick because I think it's a new meme here for everyone to see. And I think it's pretty inspirational too. Whoa, I don't even know what that ad was, but I want to see it. Let's see. Yeah, so it made me think of was it who said this is not it wasn't Achilles. What was this quote from? I can't remember the quote. Who said the quote? Give me a lever long enough that I can change the world, not change the world. I can move the world. Yeah, who said the quote? Give me a lever long enough. Archimedes. Sorry, I totally forgot Archimedes. Give me a lever long enough in a fulcrum to place it, and I shall move the world. That's exactly how I feel about RH, the community. Whether you believe, RH is here to do something for you or not, we have no expectations. Let's just call it the community is here to, he's the founder. He made the products, but boy, aren't we taking over and just going to the moon, baby, going to the moon. I'm pumped up for it. Pumped up.
Yeah, no, dude, this is like super exciting, and it's just a matter of the new money coming in and the bull market coming around. I think we have to. One of the big realizations was that we are correlated, meaning the price might not track, but we're not going to be in this recession or bear market where like sort of HEX is going to the moon. I mean, how could it? If like, where are people going to get the money to pump HEX if there's no money going around? So, but Bitcoin's doing what it's doing, and when it comes back, this community is going to the moon, man. I mean, just it's crazy. It's crazy. I just saw Martini guy tweeting that he made a bet. I think it's been acknowledged and even embraced by like every mainstream influencer, and the community's huge. Can't find this much engagement like anywhere else except for Bitcoin. So this thing is gonna be big.
Dude, it's great, and I really appreciate you too, because you stick to RH stuff. It's I love everyone else who is like all fluid with other communities, and they're like, I want to interview a lot of other people and talk about other things and all that stuff. I love that too, and I appreciate them, and I think they have a role in the community that I think is irreplaceable. But I love the I don't want to call you an RH Maximus, but I love that you embody this, like, hey, I know what the winners are. This is my choice. This is my position. I'm going to hold strong to that. I'm going to win this way. And I always appreciate people who just focus on RH stuff.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean RH is where I'm parked. Yeah, and then there are other ones out there, and some people like them, some people don't. I think a lot of big influencers that like a lot of these projects building on PulseChain, they have a lot more money. They could sort of diversify. They could sort of throw small amounts to them, but like a couple $1,000 here and there, and see where it goes. But I'm sort of not in that position, and it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, the fact that so many people are building on PulseChain, I think that definitely is going to help Moon.
Oh, so many things. So much capital. You just go to DeFi Llama, you look at PulseChain, and you see the millions of dollars locked up. PulseX is at the top, where it should be, but boy, we got a lot of other products that are just locking up millions of dollars. And we're in this macro condition, people are putting millions of dollars into new protocols built on PulseChain in the macro condition that nobody's looking around, acting like it's going to go to the moon anytime soon. So it's amazing to see, man. It really is.
It really is, yeah.
Dude, love the conversation. Really appreciate you coming on and going through it with me. I know it's been a while since we talked, and got to hang out in Miami as well, which was awesome. So where can people find you? If it's the first time they're tuning in, where can they find you and learn more about your stuff, Aaron?
At Furu Finance on Twitter. PeruFinance.com, Peru Finance on YouTube, Peru Finance on TikTok, Instagram. That's there's plenty of content to go around.
Everyone, Aaron, aka Furu Finance. That's all we got for you today. Nope, actually, we got Whales Only coming on in a few hours as well. So
it's gonna be a good one
as well. WHALE. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm excited for that one too. So hopefully two monster streams for you guys today. I'll see you guys in a bit. Scivive and 5555. We are out.